There is currently a unique window of opportunity whereby you can turn as little as £824 into over £6,500 of retirement income. I'm a financial advisor, and by following the steps that I'm about to show you, some of my clients are set to be tens of thousands of pounds better off in retirement. And if you are between the ages of roughly 40 and 70, or if you have family members that are, there is a good chance that you could too. But if you do not take action before the 5th of April, this could be lost. If you want to boost your income in retirement, there are no other opportunities quite like this. So let me explain what's happening and how to work out if you're set to benefit. Currently, a full state pension pays out £11,502 per year. This means that if you're a couple with 2 full state pensions coming in, you'd be getting £23,000 of guaranteed inflation protected income coming in every year. For about 60% of retirees, the state pension counts for at least half of their income in retirement. It is such a critical lifeline, which is why it's so important that you ensure that you and your family make the most of it. To qualify for a full state pension, you need 35 qualifying years of national insurance contributions, which people often achieve through working or claiming certain benefits. However, many people have gaps in their national insurance records, which means that they are not on track to achieve a full state pension, perhaps because they've taken time out of work, lived abroad, or been contracted out of the state pension in the past. However, you can choose to make voluntary NI contributions to plug holes in your record and boost your state pension. And there is currently a window of opportunity where you can plug holes all the way back to 2006. But after the 5th of April, that door is closing, and moving forwards, you'll only be able to go back 6 years, which means that some people will never be able to get a full state pension. Now, you might be feeling a bit of deja vu at this point because I made a very similar video 2 years ago when there was another deadline for this. However, because so many people were rushing to take advantage of this, the government's helplines could not cope with the volume of calls, which meant that millions of people were not going to get this done before the deadline. As a result, the deadline has been pushed back by 2 years. So the good news is that you have another shot at this, or if you've already sorted yourself out, you have another chance to get your family on board. The government has also set up an online service whereby many people can now make voluntary NI contributions online. And they have also frozen the cost of making those contributions, which means that some people who previously decided not to make them may now want to. Now you might be thinking, is there any point in paying to boost my state pension if it's not going to be around by the time that I get there? That's a good question, and I have a good answer for you at the end of the video. But first, let's start from the top. The state pension currently pays out from 66, but that age is set to increase to 67 over the next few years. You need at least 10 qualifying years to get any state pension at all, and then from that point, every additional year that you have gets you 1/35 of a full state pension. You can view your national insurance record via the Government Gateway website, and here is an example of what that looks like. You can see that there are 4 years here between 2008 and 2012, which are not full. And if we press view details here, we can see the cost to make voluntary contributions and make these years full. £824.20 is the maximum cost for making up a year between 2006 and 2012. For every year that you buy back, you get an extra £328 added to your state pension every year, which means that you'd only need to survive for 3 years beyond state pension age to break even on this investment. But let's say if this person is currently 60 years old and female, their current life expectancy is 87, which means that with average luck, they should be in receipt of the state pension for 20 years, giving them a total return of £6,570 on this investment. That's a 788% return. In fact, it's actually better than that because the state pension is guaranteed to increase each year by at least inflation, which means that the amount that you're likely to get paid in the future will be way higher than this. What's more is that when you check your NI record, you may find that you are able to buy back years for significantly less than this. If perhaps you earn some income during the tax year in question, but just not quite enough to qualify for that full year, it may cost you as little as £15 to make it up to a full year. Or if you were self-employed or living abroad during the years in question, you may be able to pay Class 2 national insurance contributions, which cost only £179 to make up a full year at the moment. Clearly, for some people, the opportunity here is enormous, and I had one client who was able to buy back 5 years for just £1,000, lining them up for an additional £32,000 of income in retirement. That is almost certainly the best investment that they will ever make. So how can you work out if you are one of these people? This is a spectrum. Some people are set to benefit enormously from taking action before the deadline, whilst there's others who will benefit a little, others that can't benefit at all, and some people who will actually be worse off by making these contributions now. To understand where you sit on this spectrum, the first thing that you're going to need to do is to check your state pension forecast, and I've left a link to where you can check that down in the description of the video. This is my state pension forecast, and it shows that I'm on track to get a state pension of £221 per week, which is a full state pension. However, to actually get that, I need another 19 qualifying years. But this means that if I stopped working and retired before then, I would need to make voluntary contributions at some point to make up those extra years. Then if you click here, you can view your NI record. And as you can see, I have 4 gaps in my NI record, which I could choose to make contributions for. However, given that I am not planning on retiring for at least another 20 years, I'm likely to earn those years through work. So firstly, it goes without saying that if you have no gaps in your NI record during this period, there is nothing that you can do here. And if you do have gaps, but you think that you are likely to earn those years in the future through work, then making a contribution would be a waste. But let's look at an example of someone who really does not want to miss out on this opportunity. Let's say that you're currently 60 years old now and you only have 18 qualifying years. Perhaps because you spent some time abroad when you were younger, or maybe took some time out of work to bring up children. This means that you then need to find another 17 years to qualify for a full state pension. And let's say that your NI record looks like this, with lots of gaps. Let's also say that you're currently working and planning on retiring at 65, which means that including this year, you'll get a further 6 years through work, which leaves us with 11 more years to fill. In the future, you will be able to make a voluntary contribution to top up those final 2 years so that you have them in the bag if you need them. And then looking back, we have 9 more years to fill and 11 gaps in the record. So the good news is that right now, this person can fill in enough gaps to get a full state pension. But this is the thing. Currently, you can go all the way back to 2006 to fill in any gaps. But after the 5th of April, you will only ever be able to go back 6 years. That will be the norm moving forwards. So if this person misses this window of opportunity, the maximum number of qualifying years that they could get is 28. 7 years short of a full state pension, and this means that they're likely to miss out on £45,000 of retirement income. This is why, if you or a family member is in this situation, it is so important that you get on this right away. But the next question is, which years should they choose to buy back? They have 9 that they need to fill and 11 years to choose from. Between 2010 and 2012, it looks like this person earned some income during those years, but just not enough to qualify for a full year. So there is only a partial cost to buy these years. And then there are 2 years here where it looks like they were registered as self-employed. So they can pay Class 2 national insurance contributions, which the maximum cost for is only £179. So they could fill these 4 years for a total cost of £814. Buying these lowest cost years is definitely the best place to start. And then there's this other year here, which is £796. So let's go for that one. That gives us 6 more years we need to fill. Given that these are all then the same price, it doesn't make a huge difference as to which you pick. However, to buy back all of these years, it's going to cost this person £4,900, which is a lot of money to have to find over the next few weeks. However, from next tax year, you will still be able to go back 6 years and make contributions for these years, which means that today you could choose to buy the years that you're going to lose out on, which would cost you £3,286, and then you'll have another whole year to find the cash to buy this year and another year to buy the year after that. The only drawback to this approach is that the cost for making voluntary NI contributions typically increases by inflation every year. So it's likely that you will have to pay slightly more to buy these years in the future. So the people who are set to benefit the most by taking action here are those that are not going to be able to get a full state pension unless they fill these gaps in their record. And there are lots of people in this situation, especially those who have lived abroad or taken time out of work to look after children. But there are other people who could also benefit even if they are on track to get a full state pension. Let's say that you are 50 years old now and you currently have 20 qualifying years. In theory, you should be on track for a full state pension because you have 17 years until state pension age and only 15 years to get. But if you wanted to, say, retire at 55, you'll get another 5 years from working, but you're then going to need to make voluntary NI contributions for those additional 10 years. So you have two options. You can either wait and make those contributions in future tax years, or if you have holes in your NI record, you could make them now. Let's say that your NI record looks like this, where you have a gap between 2007 and 2013, and more recently, 2021 and 2024. To work out if you should buy back these years now or wait, we need to understand how NI contributions are likely to change in the future. Typically, the cost for making voluntary NI contributions increases with inflation each year, which means that these prices we're looking at here are only likely to go up. What's more is that normally the maximum cost for making contributions in historical years is the same as the cost for the most recent year, which is currently £907. However, because of these transitional protections and deadlines being pushed back, they have frozen the costs so that at least up until the 5th of April, you can buy back years at a much lower price. So, should this person do that? Well, firstly, there are these 4 years which are a lot cheaper than the normal rate. It would cost £717 to make these years full, which would save them compared with 4 full-priced years. So yes, making these years full is likely to be a very good option. But what about the rest of these years that are closer to full price? Here, the answer is not so obvious. On one hand, yes, it's likely that they're never going to get an opportunity to make up years for a price as low as this. But on the other hand, there are some reasons why they may be better off waiting. Firstly, what if they changed their mind and decided to keep working beyond 55? In that case, buying these years now would be a waste. And then what if they make these contributions now, but then die before they actually get to state pension age, and then therefore don't see any benefit? Well, to protect against this, they could choose to wait and buy back these years in the future, perhaps even waiting until they were 66, right on the cusp of state pension age, and then going back 6 years to make up those final few years that they need, in the confidence that they are then actually going to be around to see the benefit of it. It does seem like waiting has a lot of benefits. They just need to be mindful that buying those years in the future is likely to cost a lot more than today. Not only because of these inflation uplifts, but the government may also decide to increase the cost of NI contributions in an attempt to make the state pension more sustainable. So in this situation, there is no definitive right answer. It's really up to you. Now, before we get onto the subject of whether the state pension is actually still going to be there in the future, I just want to point out that even if you are currently over state pension age and already in receipt of your state pension, you can still go back and top up your NI record to boost the pension that you're getting. However, if you're a man born before the 5th of April 1951 or a woman born before the 5th of April 1953, you are on the old state pension, so unfortunately this isn't going to work. Before I show you the final few steps that you need to follow to make a decision on this and how to pay for these contributions, let's first zoom out a little bit and think about whether any of this makes sense, given that there is a risk that the state pension could be watered down or become means tested in the future. With current demographic trends, it appears that the state pension is unsustainable in its current form, unless taxes rise or it gets watered down. I am no policy expert, but it seems that not only would making significant changes to the state pension be political suicide for any government, but the benefits would not be seen for many years after they're probably going to be quickly voted out of power. As such, although I think there will be changes, perhaps by pushing back the state pension age even more or breaking the triple lock, I expect these changes to come in gradually over decades, with transitional protections to safeguard the rights of those that are close to retirement in exactly the same way that they've done before. Of course, I could be wrong here, but think about it this way. If the cost of a voluntary contribution is £824, to break even on that investment, you need to be in receipt of the state pension for just 2.5 years. Which means that even if the state pension was cut in half, which would be pretty extreme, the break-even rate would only increase to 5 years. And given that most people can expect to live 15 plus years beyond state pension age, this is still likely to be a fantastic investment. Now, let's say that you've worked out that you have some gaps in your NI record that you want to fill before the deadline. This time around, there is a new feature in that if you click this button here, it will show you which gaps you can fill, and based on your situation, it may allow you to pay for these online. Not everyone can do this, however, and if that is the case, you'll be directed to call the Future Pension Centre to make the payment. However, there is some more research that you need to do before you make any payments. I am making this video to promote awareness about this deadline so that you can take action, check if you're affected, and get your family to check too. However, this is not a comprehensive guide. And there are some nuances to this, which means that making a contribution may not have the effect that you think it will. Perhaps because you were contracted out of the state pension during that particular year, or you may find that you can actually fill some of these years for a lower cost or for free if perhaps you were abroad or self-employed during that time or claiming benefits during those years. Therefore, I suggest that the first thing that you do is check your state pension forecast and national insurance record. If you have gaps in your record and you don't think you're going to make them up through work in the future, then I recommend reading the Money Saving Expert Guide on Making Voluntary NI Contributions, because that guide is very comprehensive. And then if you are still unsure, please call the Future Pension Centre, who can give you personalised guidance on whether it's worth making these contributions. I have left a link to the guide and the contact numbers that you need down in the description of the video. However, as happened last time, these helplines are likely to get very busy as we get closer to the deadline, which is why I suggest that you get onto this as soon as you can, as it may take several attempts to get through. But please do keep trying, because this could make a huge difference to your retirement. And also, please remember to share this video with your friends, family, or anyone else that you think that might benefit from this so that they don't miss out either. All the best with this, and I'll see you in the next one.